Today we are going to discuss about absorption of food materials. What is ingestion? Intake of food into the body is called ingestion. After ingestion, food is digested, that is digestion. After digestion, food is absorbed. Food is absorbed. First one is ingestion. Intake of food into the body or alimentary canal is called ingestion. This ingested food undergo digestion. Second step, digestion. After digestion, this food, digested food enter into the blood by a process called as absorption. Absorption. Ingestion, digestion, absorption. And absorbed food give energy. That process is called assimilation. Assimilation. Absorbed food give energy. That process is called assimilation. And last one, undigested food passes out through the anus by a process called as defecation. Defecation or escission. Escission or escission. Defecation or escission. So what are the steps involved in the digestion process? First one is ingestion, next digestion, next absorption, and then assimilation, and last one is defecation or escission. We are going to discuss about absorption of digested food material. So what is absorption? Digested food materials enter into the blood by a process called as absorption. What are the different types of digested food materials? Protein end products are amino acids. Carbohydrate end products are glucose, fructose, galactose. Glucose, galactose and fructose. What are the end products of fats? Fatty acids and glycerol. These are the end products of fats. These end products absorb into the blood. That process is called absorption. What is absorption? End products of proteins, carbohydrates and fats absorbed into the blood. That process is called absorption. Amino acids, glucose, fructose and galactose absorbed into the blood. Fatty acids and glycerol absorbed into the lymph. So what is absorption? The digested food materials enter into the blood or lymph. That process is called absorption. What are the end products of proteins? Amino acids, carbohydrates, glucose, galactose and fructose. Fats end products are fatty acids and glycerol. Here, first one is absorption of monosaccharides. Absorption of monosaccharides. What are monosaccharides? End products of carbohydrates. End products of carbohydrates are called monosaccharides like glucose, galactose and fructose. So first one is absorption of monosaccharides. The monosaccharides like glucose and galactose absorbed into the villi. Glucose and galactose enter into the villi by a process called as from the villi enter into the blood capillaries by a process called as facilitated facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. Glucose, galactose first enter into the villi by a process called as primary active transport or secondary active transport. Glucose and galactose undergo or enter into the villi through secondary active transport. Secondary active transport with the help of sodium ions. Once again I repeat, glucose and galactose first enter into the villi by a process called as secondary active transport with the help of sodium ions. From the villi enter into the blood of the blood capillaries by a process called as facilitated diffusion. And third one, fructose enter into the villi through facilitated diffusion. From the villi enter into the blood of the blood capillaries by a process called as facilitated diffusion. That means monosaccharides absorbed into the blood from the villi by a process called as facilitated diffusion. FD means facilitated diffusion. Once again I repeat, absorption of monosaccharides. Glucose and galactose enter into the villi by a process called as secondary active transport with the help of sodium ions. From the villi enter into the blood of the blood capillaries by a process called as facilitated diffusion. And fructose enter into the villi and also enter into the blood by a process called as facilitated diffusion. That means monosaccharides enter into the blood from the villi by a process called as facilitated diffusion. So glucose, galactose and fructose enter into the blood. That means glucose, galactose and fructose absorbed into the blood. That is about absorption of monosaccharides. And second one is absorption of proteins. Absorption of proteins. What are the end products of proteins? Amino acids. Amino acids first enter into the villi. From the villi enter into the blood capillaries. Amino acids first enter into the villi. Either primary active transport, PTA, primary active transport, or secondary active transport. And some of the amino acids first enter into the villi by primary active transport, or some of the amino acids enter into the villi by secondary active transport. Some are primary and some are secondary. Secondary active transport with the help of sodium ions. So amino acids enter into the villi by a process called as primary active transport or secondary active transport. From the villi enter into the blood capillaries. Blood of the blood capillaries by a process called as simple diffusion. SD means simple diffusion. Diffusion means movement of substances from one place to another place. Once again I repeat, absorption of proteins. End products of proteins are amino acids. Amino acids first enter into the villi by a process called as primary active transport or secondary active transport. From the villi enter into the blood of the blood capillaries by a process called as simple diffusion. SD or simple diffusion. That is about absorption of proteins. And coming to third one, that is absorption of fats. What are the end products of fats? Fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerols are the water insoluble. They are insoluble in water, so they does not enter into the blood. That means fatty acids and glycerol does not directly enter into the blood. So these fatty acids and glycerol first converted into a small substances with the help of bile salts. These substances are called micelles, MECELLES, micelles. Fatty acids and glycerols are converted into small particles with the help of bile salts. They are known as micelles. These micelles enter into the villi. So fatty acids and glycerols converted into micelles with the help of bile salts. These micelles first enter into the villi. In the villi, these micelles are converted into, a protein-coated substances called as chylomicrons. Chylomicrons. Once again I repeat, fatty acids and glycerols converted into micelles with the help of bile salts. These micelles enter into the villi. In the villi, these micelles are converted into protein-coated chylomicrons. These are the small particles. These chylomicrons from the villi enter into lymph capillaries or lymph vessels. What are the lymph vessels present in the villi? Lacteals. So chylomicrons enter into the villi, lacteals of the villi by a process called as exocytosis. Chylomicrons enter into the lymph of the lymph capillaries like lacteals. From the lacteals, they also enter into the left subclavian vein. This is the blood vessel through thoracic duct. Thoracic duct is the lymph vessel. So chylomicrons from the villi enter into the lacteals. From the lacteals, thoracic duct, that is also a lymph vessel. Thoracic duct. From thoracic duct enter into the subclavian vein. That means chylomicrons from the lacteal vessels enter into the left subclavian vein via thoracic duct. Thoracic duct is the lymphatic vessel or duct. In the subclavian vein, these chylomicrons are converted into glycerol, fatty acids and glycerol by the action of an enzyme called as lipoprotein lipase. It is present in the endothelial cells. Lipoprotein lipase present in the endothelial cells. This lipoprotein lipase converts the chylomicrons into fatty acids and glycerol. These fatty acids and glycerols enter into the adipocytes and adipose tissues and also enter into the liver. They are in the form of neutral fats. That is about absorption of fats. Once again I repeat, absorption of fatty acids and glycerols are converted into micelles with the help of bile salts. These micelles enter into the villi. In the villi, these micelles are converted into protein-coated chylomicrons. These chylomicrons enter into the lacteal vessels. Lacteal vessel is the lymph vessel or capillary present in the villi by a process called as exocytosis. That means chylomicrons present in the lymph. From the lacteal vessels enter into the left subclavian vein via thoracic duct. In the left subclavian vein, these chylomicrons are converted into fatty acids and glycerol by the action of lipoprotein lipase that is present in the endothelial cells of the endothelial cells. Then these fatty acids and glycerols enter into the adipose tissues and also liver. In the liver, they are in the form of neutral fats. That is about absorption of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And coming to process of digestion, in various parts of the alimentary canal. Coming to absorption of substances in various parts of the alimentary canal. First part of the alimentary canal is mouth. In mouth, what are the substances undergo absorption? And second one is stomach. Third one is small intestine. And fourth one is large intestine. These are the four parts in which absorption takes place. In mouth, certain drugs undergo absorption. Whenever the food enter into the mouth, along with the food material, these drugs attaches to the epithelium of the mouth and also tongue, below the tongue. So lower part of the tongue and epithelium of the mouth, in which drugs undergo absorption. So what are the substances undergo absorption in mouth? Drugs, epithelium of the mouth and below the tongue. These two parts, some of the drugs undergo absorption. In the case of stomach, some of the water, minerals and alcohol undergo absorption. Water, minerals and alcohol undergo absorption. In the small intestine, 90% of the absorption takes place in the small intestine. What are the end products of proteins? Protein end products are amino acids. Carbohydrate end products are glucose, fructose, galactose. Fats end products are fatty acids and glycerols. These undergo absorption in small intestine. In the small intestine, there are three parts: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. In the ileum, absorption takes place. Amino acids, glucose, fructose, galactose, fatty acids, and glycerol undergo absorption. Which part of the alimentary canal? Small intestine or ileum. Most of the absorption takes place in the small intestine. And coming to large intestine, in large intestine, water reabsorption takes place. And some of the drugs also undergo absorption. Water and drugs undergo absorption in large intestine. That is about absorption in various parts of the alimentary canal. In mouth, drugs. In stomach, water, minerals and alcohol. In small intestine, end products of protein, carbohydrates and fats. In large intestine, water and drugs undergo absorption. That is about absorption. So, what is ingestion? Intake of food into the body is called ingestion. What is digestion? Conversion of complex substances into simple absorbable substances is called digestion. What is absorption? Digested food enter into the blood is called absorption. Ingestion, digestion, absorption. And what is assimilation? Coming to assimilation. What is assimilation? Absorbed food material converted into energy. That means absorbed food materials like glucose, fructose, galactose, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerols. They enter into the tissues. In the tissues, they provide the growth of the tissues and energy. These absorbed substances provide the growth of the tissues, growth and repair of the tissues, and also provide the energy. That process is called assimilation. The process is called assimilation. Last one is defecation. Defecation or egestion. Defecation or egestion. Removal of undigested waste from the body from the alimentary canal is called defecation or egestion. In the rectum is the large part of large intestine. In the rectum, undigested food material is converted into feces or feces. In the rectum, mucus is present. This mucus collect the undigested food materials into feces. That means mucus is useful for the easy passage of food material and also collection of various undigested particles together to form the fecus. Fecus formation takes place in the rectum. This elimination of fecus from the rectum by neroflex. Whenever the rectum is filled with the fecus matter, it is controlled by the nervous system. From the rectum, rectum leads to the next part, anus. Anal canal has two sphincters. What are the two sphincters? External anal sphincter and internal anal sphincter. These anal sphincters relax. As they relax, waste material passes out through the anus. That process is called defecation. So during defecation is a voluntary control. That means this alimentary canal exhibit peristalsis movements. Due to peristalsis movements, undigested food material fecus passes out through the anus. That process is called defecation. Last process is defecation. First one ingestion, second one digestion, third one absorption, fourth one assimilation, and last one is defecation. That is about digestive system. And coming to gastrointestinal hormones. Alimentary canal also produce the hormones. They are commonly called as gastrointestinal hormones. Why they are called as gastrointestinal hormones? The hormones produced in the stomach, intestine. So intestinal. These hormones are commonly called as gastrointestinal hormones. There are different types of gastrointestinal hormones. First one is gastrin. Gastrin is secreted by the stomach. Gastrin is secreted by the wall of the stomach. What is the function of gastrin? Gastrin stimulates the secretion of HCl. Gastrin stimulates the secretion of HCl and pepsinogen. So what is the function of gastrin? Secretes the stimulate the secretion of HCl and pepsinogen. That is about gastrin. Gastrin is the hormone secreted by the stomach, wall of the stomach. What is the function of gastrin? Stimulates the secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. Second hormone is enterogastrone. Or gastric gastric, gastrin, gastrin, inhibit, gastric, inhibit peptide. In general, GIP, gastrin inhibitory, gastrin inhibitory peptide, secreted by the wall of the duodenum. Secreted by the wall of the duodenum. What is the function of enterogastrin or GIP? Inhibits the secretion of gastric juice. Inhibits the secretion of gastric juice. Inhibit the secretion of gastric juice. So these two are antagonistic hormone, gastrin into enterogastrin. They are functionally different. These hormones are called antagonistic hormones. And coming to third one, secretin. Secretin. Secretin are hormone secreted by the wall of the duodenum. Wall of the duodenum. What is the function of secretin? Secretin stimulate the secretion of water and bicarbonates. Water and bicarbonates of pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice secretion of stimulate the secretion of water and bicarbonates of the pancreatic juice. And next, that is about secretin. And third one is cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin. CCK. Cholecystokinin. It is also secreted by the duodenum. Also secreted by the duodenum. Wall of the duodenum. What is the function of cholecystokinin? Cholecystokinin stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzymes. Cholecystokinin stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and also contraction of gallbladder. Contraction of gallbladder. As a result, gallbladder, due to the contraction of gallbladder, release of bile. So what are the functions of cholecystokinin? Secreted by the duodenum, all of the duodenum. Functions are stimulate the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and also contraction of gallbladder. As a result, bile is released from the gallbladder. That is about cholecystokinin. And next one is hormone, gastrointestinal hormone. Next one is enterocrinin. It is secreted by is also secreted by the duodenum. Enterocrinin secreted by the duodenum. What is the function of enterokinin? Enterokinin stimulates the crypts of Leberkun. Then crypts of Leberkun secretes the intestinal juice. Or succus entericus. Succus entericus. So enterokinin stimulate the secretion of succus entericus. And last one is villicrinin. It is secreted by mucosa of the villi. What is the function of villicrinin? Increase the area of absorption. What is the function of villicrinin? Increase the area of absorption. That is about gastrointestinal hormones. There are 6 gastrointestinal hormones. They are gastrin, enterogastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, enterocrinin, and villikinin. Villikinin, not trinin. Villikinin, K-I-N-I-N. Villikinin. This one also cholecystokinin. This is enterocrinin. Enterocrinin. Once again I repeat, gastrin, enterogastron or GIP, gastric inhibitory peptide. This is secretin, and this one is cholecystokinin. This is enterocrinin. This one villikinin. Villikinin. What is the function of villikinin? Increase the area of absorption. What is the enterocrinin? Stimulates the secretion of succus entericus. What is the function of cholecystokinin? Stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and also contraction of gallbladder. As a result, bile is released. What is the function of secretin? Stimulates the secretion of water and bicarbonates of the pancreatic juice. What is the function of gastrin? Enterogastron inhibits the secretion of gastric juice. What is the function of gastrin? Stimulates the secretion of HCl and trypsinogen, hydrochloric acid and trypsinogen. That is about gastrointestinal hormones. And last one is energy. 1 gram of proteins, carbohydrates and fats. That is also called as calorific values. 1 gram of proteins yield 4 kilocalories of energy. 1 gram of proteins yield 4 kilocalories energy. 1 gram of carbohydrates also yield 4 kilocalories energy. 4 kilocalories energy. And 1 gram of fats. 1 gram of fats also gives 9 kilocalories of energy. 9 kilocalories of energy. These are the calorific values. These are not for absolute values. These are the physiological values. 1 gram of 1 gram of proteins. When we take 1 gram of proteins, that gives 4 kilocalories of energy, and 1 gram of carbohydrates, which gives 4 kilocalories of energy. That means proteins and carbohydrates give similar energy, and 1 gram of fats gives 9 kilocalories of energy. For example, the children or man eat 100 grams of proteins. A man food consists of 100 grams of proteins, 200 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fats. Yeah. Food consists of 100 grams of proteins, 200 grams of fat and carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fats. Which amount of energy gives this food? 100 grams of protein gives 400 kilocalories of energy. 200 grams of carbohydrate gives 4 to 800 kilocalories of energy, and 50 grams of fats. 50 into 9, 450 kilocalories of energy. A man take food with 100 grams of proteins, 200 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fats. Which food gives total energy is 400, 800 and 450. So total amount of energy is equal to 1650 kilocalories. 1650 kilocalories. That is a simple problems also given in examinations. The basic one is 1 gram of proteins and 1 gram of carbohydrates yield 4 kilocalories of energy, and 1 gram of fat yield 9 kilocalories of energy. That is our basic part of the calorific values. And coming to last one, digestive disorders. Digestive disorders. First digestive disorder or one disorder is jaundice. Jaundice. Jaundice is a liver disorder. Hepatitis. Hepatitis. Disorder occurring in the liver is called hepatitis. Symptoms are loss of appetite. Loss of appetite. These are the symptoms of jaundice. And also skin and white eyeballs become yellowish in color. That is the symptom of jaundice. Skin and white eyeball become yellow. Why? Because due to accumulation of bile pigments or deposition of bile pigments on the skin and the white eyeball. White eyeball become yellow. Why? Because deposition of bile pigments on the white eyeball. So the eyes become yellowish. White eyeball become yellowish. That is the symptom of jaundice. And second one is diarrhea. Diarrhea also called as motions. What are the symptoms of motions or diarrhea? Loss of water from the body. That is called as dehydration. Absorption does not take place. Why? Because removal of the water from the body, that is, the process is called dehydration. And third one is indigestion. Indigestion. What is indigestion? Over eating or spicy food does not digest immediately. The spicy food causes a feeling called as indigestion. That means food is completely not digested in the alimentary canal. That condition is called indigestion. And fourth one is constipation. Constipation is the condition in which undigested food is accumulated in the rectum, does not come outside due to loss of water, and alimentary canal does not exhibit peristaltic movements. These are the two reasons for the condition constipation. Undigested food does not come outside. It is stored in the rectum. Why? Because loss of water. Water is necessary for the digestion. So less intake of water also causes a condition called as constipation. Jaundice, diarrhea, indigestion and constipation. These are the digestive disorders. Last, malnutrition disorders are marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus is the disorder or malnutritional disorder. It is inadequate intake of both proteins and carbohydrates. That means deficiency of both proteins and carbohydrates causes a condition or disorder is called marasmus. Inadequate means not sufficient. Inadequate intake of protein and calorific or carbohydrates causes marasmus. Kwashiorkor is the condition or disorder in which inadequate intake of proteins. That means only protein deficiency causes kwashiorkor. Both protein and calorie deficiency causes marasmus. Marasmus generally occur in less than 1 year old. Less than 1 year old. Kwashiorkor occur in more than 1 year children. More than 1 year children exhibit kwashiorkor. Symptoms are marasmus symptoms are thin limbs. Limbs are thin. Here also thin limbs. Growth is less growth. Brain also not well developed. These are the similarities between marasmus and kwashiorkor. In addition to marasmus in kwashiorkor, accumulation of fat. That is another symptom of kwashiorkor. And also edema. Edema means accumulation of tissue fluid in the tissues is called edema. Accumulation of fat in the fat below the subcutaneous tissue is called accumulation of fat. This is also another symptom of kwashiorkor. So what is the difference between marasmus and kwashiorkor? Only protein deficiency causes kwashiorkor. Both protein and carbohydrate or caloric deficiency causes marasmus. These are the malnutritional disorders. That is about digestive system.